Was your familiarity with Keith one of the top factors in taking this job?
Yeah, I believe so. Obviously, anytime you can, have previous relationships with anyone on the staff, we all know this is a referral type of business. So Keith and I have an intimate relationship just in terms of us being able to work together twice, and at the same time, we've known each other. Prior to that, when I was on my ranks up, I was at Southern Utah. So having familiar face, familiar terminology, that's been helpful for us so far.
How are you guys dividing up the coaching in the secondary?
So part of me coming here was to coach the whole secondary. That gives Keith an opportunity to be more of an overseer over every position group. So, Keith's in our meetings at most times than not, and then sometimes he's able to step out, but I'm the one leading the instruction.
Skylar Thomas, I don't know how much you watched him on film before, from 2 seasons ago and then this spring. What do you, if he's able to cut loose, what do you feel like he adds?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Upon seeing him, I was just amazed on how big he was. And obviously before he got on the grass, I didn't know he was weird to be back. He looks a little bigger. I thought he was going to be a linebacker, but as soon as he touched the field and started moving around, he silenced all the doubts in my mind about his ability to move, his ability to change direction. So, he's a really great young man. I'm proud of the way he's developed in terms of his maturity, but I'm really proud and excited to see what he's going to do when he gets back.
Is he a guy who could help you guys at multiple spots, or where's the majority of this work coming at this?
The majority of the work's been at safety, but he can play in the field, he can play in the boundary. So that gives all of our guys being in the room together. That's the value of meeting together. You get an opportunity to hear the instruction from both sides, right? Whether I'm in the field or whether I'm in the boundary or whether I'm in nickel. As you guys saw last season, a lot of defensive backs were forced into action. So we don't want to get caught, in that predicament again. So we're kind of cross-training some bodies to make sure if we get in that predicament, we got guys who've got experience and reps at those different positions.
I feel like you guys are. Sorry, go ahead.
What have you seen out of the defensive background here so far? These back half of the spring.
I just think more attention to detail, more attention in terms of, getting the extra time. I like to tell players that football is like calculus. If I only go to calculus and that's the only time I work on it when I'm in that class, I'm probably not going to get an A. Same thing that correlates to football. If I'm only doing what's required within a 20-hour week, I'm probably not going to be the best player I possibly can for our team. So I've been proud of the effort of the guys to come in on the time that they're not required to. Sometimes beating us here, right? Beating us after we finished up. Some of those guys will grab food real quick and try to meet with us right now. So that's what we need in terms of being a player-led team. When we do that consistently, I think that'll give us great results on the back end.
You guys feel like you're where you need to be looking at a spring showcase on Saturday?
I think the work is never done. Right, I think this spring is the opportunity to get some new things on film, different guys gelling together. But I think when the spring ends, right, the party just begins. Right, there's going to be a lot of development that happens, post spring. And us as coaches, I like to preach to the guys that, hey, look, player development is a two-way street, right? And your coaches are already ready for you. We're meeting you there. Just meet us halfway there so we can give you the tools that we have, right, to give you the tools to be successful.
Looking back at the camp, this thing was a roller coaster in terms of players departing and trying to gel new pieces. Under your observations, was there any moment of vast improvement, or did it kind of just gradually ramp up?
I think for me, I got here like 2 days before spring ball started. So a lot of, for me, I was learning on the fly, and I was grateful to have men in the room, right, who played in this defense that helped me, right, help me get caught up in terms of the scheme, in terms of the communication, because Keith and I have been together before, so there was some correlation. But there's some nuances here in the defense that have been successful in the past. I want to make sure I didn't miss or I didn't change. We don't want to break anything that's not broken. You know what I mean? Excuse me, we don't want to fix anything that's not broken.
For anybody who maybe isn't familiar, how would you describe your coaching style when you come on the field?
It's up close and personal. That's the best way I can say it. I like to build great relationship with our players because that allows me to coach them the way I want to coach them. I tell the players, I'm your harshest critic in the meeting room and on the field, but on game day, I'm your biggest fan. So my job is to make it as hard as possible in the meeting room in terms of thought process, hard as possible out here physically, right? So when we go out there and reach the stadium, right, we have a calm demeanor to ourselves and the moment's not too big for us.
What was it like for some of the guys you said have been here and definitely helped you out, but did you see it difficult for them 2 days before spring ball having to sort of have this new situation, having you come in? Did you see any difficulties with that?
To be honest, the guys are very mature in the room. They handled it great. I think Coach Hayward kind of prepared them for the situation and what was going on. And I think just me coming in to meet them at the eye level, to make sure I get an opportunity to meet with each guy individually, introduce myself to their parents, I think that kind of helps. I think when you make intentional effort, right, to meet guys, intentional effort to build relationship, I think that means a lot to the players. And I think that kind of helped the process as we went. And to be honest, they had no choice. 2 days before spring ball, we're rolling and we're going. But we're still doing that, right? I'm still building a relationship with a lot of the guys that are in the room, and that'll correlate when my wife gets here, right? And everybody gets to cook, right? And they get to come over to the house. So I'm excited for that part of it. But the guys handle it very well, to be honest.
Looking back at all of spring ball now, how did Trent do, handling all this, getting guys to gel together, just head coaching in his first spring ball?
I think knowing his reputation, not necessarily knowing him personally, it was good for me to get around him and kind of see the effect he has on the players. And he's not a man of many words, but, it's clear and obvious that players love him and respect him. So I think that's where it starts at, the love and the respect for the head football coach. I think it permeates to everything that he's trying to do, that the kids are playing for him, right? Not for themselves, right? We're going to play for the head coach and for each other. So I think I'm seeing that, as we continue to grow more than anything. And if we can get guys to play together and play for one another, right? Success is not guaranteed, but I like our chances.
Knowing that, really any player can go down at any time, what has the emphasis kind of been on this spring of making sure that every player is kind of up to play, or up to date and kind of up to speed, knowing that you might need to use that next man mentality at any point during the season?
No doubt. That is an old adage in football, next man up, but it's up for us as coaches to put them in those situations as well, right? And this is when we have spring football, you get a lot of free reps, as I call it, right? Because the scoreboard's not on. So having those opportunities to move guys around, maybe put a corner at nickel this particular play, take one of our nickels, put them in the boundary safety. That way guys have a little bit of experience. But again, that goes back to us meeting together, right? And really having call and response in terms of how we teach in the meeting room, giving guys an opportunity to answer those questions. Hey, what if you're at boundary safety here? Or what if you're at nickel? So I think the way we teach in the room kind of correlates and gives an opportunity. If a guy has to move, as you guys probably saw in practice today, right? We did see some moving pieces, some guys that line up normally at one position, but they were playing in these spots particularly, not necessarily for injury purposes, but just to get those reps, right? To give us that experience if we have those situations come up during the season.
Is there anybody that you could kind of just throw out at any of the defensive back spots and feel comfortable with it?
Well, I think it's a growing process. I think everybody in the room understands that we all got a place to grow, right? I got to grow as a coach, right? Getting more familiar with the scheme. The players got to continue to grow with the eye discipline and the individual techniques. But, anytime you got a guy that's played a bunch or been around a lot, J-Rob being a great presence in the room. We call him Uncle J-Rob, he's been around here for a long time. The guy might be only a couple years younger than me. But it's good to have him out there. He's a common presence. The guy that I've been particularly impressed with is Jack Conning. Right, he's been a great leader. I'm pretty sure you guys heard him on the sideline. He's been a very vocal leader in terms of getting us lined up, over-communicating to the rest of the defense. Having Skylar back has been great, in the safety room. But I'm particularly focused in on the competition at corner, right? Seeing Andre Jordan, compete, Kobe Singleton and Mason White. That's been an interesting combination right there, just to see those guys step up. Different guys have a different day as that competition pushes us into the summer. In terms of freshmen, man, very excited about Exodus Ayers. He's shown the ability to play football at this level, but he's got to continue to grow in terms of being consistent in his movement skills, being consistent in the technique. So there's some young talent in the room that we feel that comfortable about building. And for us, we just feel we're in a position that if we take care of the offseason properly, we got a chance to have some real good competitive depth, and that'll help us out going forward.
With Ivy, what makes him a good fit for that boundary safety spot for guys who hasn't played safety?
With who, sorry?
Like Tyrese Ivy.
I think Tyrese has great movement skills, as a corner. So anytime you have a guy that starts out at corner, that's really a more stressful position than it is at safety, right? When you move him in safety, right, he's playing over slot twos, over tight ends, when he's used to playing potentially the fastest guy on the field. So I think his corner movements and translating him over, right, has done really well for him. Where he's got to continue to grow, it's a communication part. At corner, you usually listen to the safeties, right? They're going to give you communication and tell you to line up. His growth has to go in the area of communication where he's the guy driving the bus, getting everybody aligned and making sure we're all on the same page.
You don't coach the receivers, but you obviously see them every day with your guys going up against them. Is there one or two guys that kind of caught your eye in terms of maybe their hands or the way they run routes?
I think Zach Carr is a guy that can blow the top off the coverage. You know what I mean? And for us, if you have a guy that's got some speed, that puts stress on the coverage. So, for him originally, that's a guy that pops up in my mind. Sauce has done a good job as well, really making some plays, right, getting over the top at times. So they've been doing a good job of kind of challenging us. David Wells has done a really good job as well. So we got our hands full in practice. I'm pretty sure they'll be even more full when Darius comes back. But for right now, we got our hands full with the guys that we are preparing against. They've been giving us good work, preparing us for the season.
What does the win on Saturday look like for you?
Everybody healthy, right? We want to get a line, we want to communicate, no blown coverages. Hey, some mistakes will be made. But at the end of the day, we want it to look like football. And at the end of the day, we want to leave with everybody that we came into the game with.